A great player is also, like you said, a great leader, and what he's doing so special is his social skills. So he's very good in connecting people. He understands the situation where they are in, because he's also coming from a different country and adapted to the culture here and understood what it needs to be successful, and therefore this experience he can give to the younger players. And he's very understandable. He understands different dynamics, understands like the different backgrounds, and I think that's something what is crucial for his leadership. And on top of that, he's just a winner. He wants to win every game. Sometimes like he's forcing it too much, but I prefer personalities and players who want it so desperately, who are like so much into it. He gives everything for the badge. He gives everything for this club. He's fully committed, and therefore he's just a great person, a great player to work with.
So, leading from into the European aspect of the season and the competition that's coming, starting of course with making sure you get past Tromsø tomorrow. But how are you feeling? And I asked you this question at the beginning of the summer about. Sometimes I felt that for certain teams, European qualification can almost be a poison chalice because it's too big for them. They don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the players, they don't have the time. And you said no. We all want this European football from from Tony, Paul, yourself, the players, everyone, the fans particularly, obviously, want it. And have you arrived at the Tromsø game now and the chance of qualification in the absolute confidence that you have enough to take on this campaign?
Yeah, I think that's very important to understand what our expectations in this club. And I think long term, if you really want to challenge the establishment in a consistent way, then you need to be capable, then you need to have a squad that is able to perform every 3 days, because only if you're capable of doing this, then you can really like challenge like the establishment in a consistent way. That means like always trying to fight for top positions in the Premier League and still being successful in Europe. Otherwise, it would always get 1 year in Europe, 1 year out of Europe, and I think this club is desperate to do the next step, and therefore you have to be consistent with this. What is crucial is like depth in the squad. So we need enough players. We need players that are capable of also playing every 3 days. We need to manage the energy, the joy from the players in the right manner, and that's also a challenge for me as a coach, because it would be the first time for me heading into Europe. That's an opportunity for me, but also a challenge where we have to manage it in the right way. But in the end, it's exactly what we wanted for our fans, because we want to make the next step as a club. We want to go the next step, and if you really want to be consistent in the journey, be consistent in this progress, you need to be capable of playing Premier League and in Europe, and both in a positive and successful way.
Yeah, and I wondered if, as much as your ambitions absolutely must be, according to the press anyway, to win this competition, which I know is not easy, regardless of the fact that other English teams have won it recently. It's not a competition that's easy to win. But it is such fantastic preparation for the future. That these young players that you've got in particular will arrive in the Champions League when inevitably you will. They'll have had a season in a lower competition to bring them to that. I mean, that must be a fantastic, thought.
Yeah, the thought sounds great, Mark. The thought is unbelievable, speaking about Champions League. But I think now it's really important that step after step. So tomorrow is the first challenge, trying to qualify for Europe. Then the next challenge will be like playing every 3 days, so capable of playing Sunday Premier League, Thursday Europe. Like this will be the next challenge, and maybe not every player will be capable of doing it immediately. So we need to give him time. We need to give him the environment where he can do it. Other players will do it in a consistent way. So therefore, I think that's crucial. And on top of that, we still want to be successful in all the tournaments. So we try to go as far as possible, but to understand that it will be very important to do the daily behaviors right. Yeah, we can dream now about big things, but in the end it comes back to the daily behaviors. What do you do in the daily business? Which habit do you create because of your daily behaviors? Because these things, they will define the consistency, and in the end the consistency will make exactly these steps for you possible.
That's the Brighton manager, Fabian Hürzeler, in conversation with the man to my left, Mark McGee, ahead of kick-off here between Brighton and Tromsø. Mark, he seemed very relaxed, very focused, typical Fabian Hürzeler in many ways.
Yeah, I think his focus gives him that impression of being relaxed, but I think he's quite a kind of hyper sort of guy. I think under the surface he's boiling away. You know that thing about the swans working away under the surface. I think he's a bit like that. He tries to project calmness and he does that really, really well. But I think inside he's on everything. He sees everything and he acts on everything he sees.
Well, the two sets of players have emerged from the tunnel deep down below us. We're right in the back row of the main stand here at the Amex. To my left, a giant banner in tribute to skipper Lewis Dunk has just been unveiled. It reads captain, leader, legend, our number 5. Very similar to the type of banner that Chelsea fans used to display when John Terry was wearing the armband. Lewis Dunk back in the side tonight. He sat out the first leg in Norway, that 0-0 draw due to concerns over the plastic pitch. It's 2 changes in total from the side that beat Villa here 4-0 in the Premier League on Sunday. Matt O'Reilly and Babis Kostoulas are the players who come in. Out go Jack Hinchwood and Jorginho Ruter, both unavailable tonight due to injury. So the Brighton 11, the Bruggen in goal, Vifa, Dunk, Vuskovic and Buscagli the back 4, Gross and Ayari in front of them, Gomez, O'Reilly and De Kuyper so effective here in that 4-0 drubbing of Villa. In behind Babis Kostoulas in attack. The Brighton subs bench tonight features quite a few of the youngsters who came on and played a part in Norway. Jason Steele is the backup goalkeeper along with Tom McGill, Strauch, Osman, Costinha, Kadioglu, Yakuye, Johanna, Freddie Simmons, Joshua Robertson, Needham Oriola and Shane and Ty completing that Brighton subs bench. For Tromsø, just the one change from the team that drew 0-0 a week ago. Jesper Grunt, who came off the bench in the Arctic Circle, is in for Lars Olden Larsson. So it's Hårgaard in goal, their usual back 3 of Vadabu, Skirovic and Tonnesson. Dahlqvist is the right wing back, Varnard the left wing back, Jensen, Edvardsen and Grunt in midfield, and then Nyhammer and Hein Larsen in attack. You are listening to the Conference League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it, book now at enterprise.co.uk. And it looks like we're going to have a tribute to the former Brighton manager Mike Bailey before kick-off. Mike, who passed away recently. Both sets of players gathered around the centre circle. You can hear the PA announcer just announcing a moment's applause in tribute to the former Seagulls gaffer Mike Bailey. So here we go then, Brighton's first European home game since losing to Roma over 2 legs in the Europa League round of 16. Some 2 years ago now, 0-0 from the first leg in Norway. The Premier League side heavy favourites to go on and win tonight and book their place in the draw for the Conference League proper. A draw you can hear live on TalkSport tomorrow. And it is Tromsø in their red and white striped jerseys, white shorts and white socks, shooting from right to left in this first half, who will get us underway here on TalkSport 2. Brighton all in blue with a very thin white pinstripe on their jerseys. A crowd of around about 21,000 inside the Amex tonight, including a small pocket of support over on the far side, and an early touch of the ball for Jakob Hårgaard, the former Wigan goalkeeper, long-term number 1 for the visitors. And his first act is to play the ball out of play, and it will be a throw-in to be taken by Mats Vifa down this Brighton right-hand side. Don't forget, we have live EFL Cup commentary for you tonight over on TalkSport. No Enzo Fernandez in the Chelsea squad as they take on Luton. That's just got underway. Also Fulham against Wimbledon. Here's another EFL Cup tie tonight. We will keep you across. And of course Rangers in action in this Conference League playoff round. They've lost 1-0 on the night to Jablonec. It's finished 1-1 on aggregate. It's gone to penalties. And after Celtic were dumped out the Champions League in dramatic fashion, Scottish football could well do with Rangers winning that game. We'll keep you updated of the penalty shootout. Here at the Amex, 0-0, very early exchanges. Brighton dominating possession as you'd expect, and the teenager, their record signing, Vuskovic, plays it out to his right, and the mop-head Vifa, part of that Brighton back four that was unbreached here against Aston Villa in the Premier League at the weekend. Not much tempo marked to the game so far, and as you predicted, the Tromsø players out of possession content just to have everybody sat behind the ball.
Yeah, but when the ball went back into the Brighton goalie, the Tromsø did the exact same as Brighton had done from the kick-off. They pushed right on, they had a high press, they tried to stop Brighton playing out, and that's going to be important that Brighton are prepared to play through that press. It's when they do that when they can really cause Tromsø a lot of problems. But clearly they're not going to allow Brighton just to have it all their own way. They're going to step on and try and stop them further up the pitch.
Tromsø beaten by Kilmarnock at this stage a couple of years ago. 2014, the last time they qualified for the group phase of any European competition. They have the opportunity to write their name in club folklore this evening. It would be a monumental upset if they were to come here to the Sussex Downs and come away with the victory. Lewis Dunk, the Brighton captain, has the ball on the edge of the centre circle. We played 3 minutes, it's still 0-0. And then Dunk fizzes the pass out to Vifa, a bit too much weight on it, and it's out of play off Vifa for a Tromsø throw.
A second or two ago, the Tromsø keeper kicked the ball out of play, and that's not what he wants to be doing. That just puts the jitters of his own team a little bit. He's got to be better than that, and not give Brighton that sort of encouragement that he's nervous. But that's certainly what it looked like when the ball went back to him.
So Brighton 0, Tromsø 0, 0-0 on aggregate. Brighton had 25 shots in the first game, but Jakob Højgaard didn't have too many match-winning saves to make. In fact, Bart Verbruggen pulled off the best stop of the evening in the second half, denying Hein Larsen. Still Brighton dictating the tempo of the game down the left-hand side with Buscagli. He's had a very good start to the season. Olivier Buscagli, by no means a regular, just 9 Premier League starts last term, but looks to be one of Fabian Hürzeler's go-to men early in this campaign.
Fabian Hürzeler spoke about the fact that it could go for a while, without a goal, that they had to have the composure, they have to have the bottle to see it through, to play it through, and it's not impossible that that's what happened, regardless of predictions that there was going to be multiple goals. It could still end up with it. They have to be patient until they make that breakthrough.
Yeah, they got a very early goal here against against Villa on Sunday in the Premier League, and then the floodgates really open. You sense if they do score early on tonight, it could be a similar story as Tromsø had to chase the game and try and find a route back into it. Here's Pascal Gross, who we heard from pre-match, making his way towards the halfway line, over the halfway line to the Paraguayan Gomez, but Tromsø win it back in their left-back position. And then it's Matt O'Reilly who immediately gets possession back. An acrobatic effort there from Kostulas as the cross came in from the right hand side. He flicked it up on the chest, went for the overhead kick. It's well wide in the end. It stays goalless.
Yeah, I think he lost his bearings a little bit there, but that's good. It's come into him, he's taken it, and he's tried to get a shot away. He's got a shot away. It wasn't a good one, but there's nothing wrong with that. He's a centre forward and he's got his first shot after 5 minutes.
It's Mark McGee, the former Brighton manager, ex-Scotland international, part of our team here on TalkSport 2. As Kostulas pokes the ball out to the right, and Gomez with a cross. It's not really clear yet. Kostulas with a shot, beaten away by the goalkeeper Højgaard. That was good keeping, because there are a lot of Tromsø defenders blocking his view of that effort from Kostulas.
Yeah, well then again, he's in among it. That's good. That gives him confidence. He'll have a few sighters before he actually maybe get a goal. So I think it could have been a little bit of a better cross. It was a bit flat. It was a bit half hit. I think they have to put a bit more concentration into going to that cross with Gomez.
Brighton 0, Tromsø 0. The home supporters in good voice, so too the travelling contingent from Norway. And they've given it away inside their own penalty area. Tromsø, Pascal Gross tries to cut it back for Kostulas, and the last-ditch challenge goes in. A goal-saving challenge from Vetil Skirovic, because the goalkeeper Højgaard got himself in all kinds of trouble.
But it was Aston Villa that, almost presented Brighton with a goal, trying to play out from the back when really it's not on, and the goalkeeper had to deal with it, but they didn't make the best of it. And in fact, it was Pascal Gross. It's a shame, because you expect he's the one that can maybe turn that into a real chance.
Remember, no Hinshelwood, no Ruter tonight due to injury. Matoma amongst those on the sidelines as well. They have got plenty of big name absentees. Brighton, as Gomez scoots away from Tonneson, plays the ball out to his right. Is Vifa going to keep it in here? He can't. Goal kick for Tromsø, but they are just building up a head of steam. Brighton still goalless, but very much the Seagulls on the front foot.
A little bit more quality, a little bit more patience there, to make sure that the ball is right for him to go on and cross. But good play. They're now getting at them. They're now forcing Tromsø into those little areas that mean that Brighton are getting in behind them.
Still Chelsea 0, Luton 0 over on Talk Sport. Second round of the EFL Cup. Fulham against Wimbledon kicks off at 8 o'clock. Latest from that penalty shootout. Rangers 3-2 up against Jablonec after a 1-0 defeat there. 1-1 on aggregate. In fact, it's now 3-3 in the shootout. So nervous times for Rangers.
Fingers crossed here for Rangers. We want all the Scottish teams to go through. Celtic have already, been demoted, as it were. I'd love to see Rangers win this one, and Derek McInnes to, get the real start that he needs to push on his time at Rangers. So yeah, fingers crossed they finish it.
We've got a stoppage in play here. It was Vetel Skirovic who made that challenge after the goalkeeper had given the ball away inside his own penalty area, and I think he has managed to injure himself in the process. He's been down for quite some time. The Tromsø players taking the opportunity to come across and get some instructions from the visitors' coaching staff. They're third in the Norwegian League, the position they finished in last season. They've already played 21 games this campaign, scoring 46 goals in the process, and actually both these teams were among the goals at the weekend. Brighton putting 4 past Villa, and Tromsø scored 5 in a Norwegian Cup game against Ullestund. 5-0 victory for them.
I calculated that they'd scored something like 29 goals in the last 9 games, but in amongst that, I think they also lost 2 games 6-0, so it's all a bit strange. And I think it's a case that in the Norwegian League the top few teams really do dominate.
It doesn't look as if Skirovic is going to be able to continue here. There is going to be a substitution. Leon Hein, a like for like replacement, is stripped and ready for action. So a bit of a blow early on in proceedings as far as the visitors are concerned, and Rangers have been beaten on penalty. So Rangers out of Europe. What an embarrassing week, Mark McGee, for Scottish football.
Yeah, and people will hear me saying it, as a sort of Celtic side of the city. I wanted Rangers badly. I wanted Rangers to win tonight, and I'm so disappointed for Derek that they haven't. Lost in a penalty shootout, that can happen, of course. But they'll be hugely disappointed, and it doesn't do any good for our coefficient. We'll soon be finding it very difficult to get any position in the draws at all. So very disappointing.
You are listening to Brighton against Tromsø in the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk. And this doesn't look at all good for Skirovic, who is about to be stretchered off. His replacement, Leon Hein, bouncing away on the touchline. So disruption in the Tromsø back 3 inside the opening 10 minutes here. Still 0-0, but in reality we've probably only played about 6 minutes of football since before this injury.
Yeah, we're not sure what he'd done. It looked to me as if when they showed him close and when he was lying there, he was holding a muscle. He didn't seem so much, unless it was his knee, unless he's twisted his knee, but it looked as if he was kind of holding the outside of his leg on his muscle, rather than like a cruciate or something bad like that.
You've got a story about Tromsø, haven't you? Is it from your playing days?
Shall I tell you now that we're sitting here with
we've got a few minutes to fill,
break? Okay, so we played with Scotland in Tromsø. We played Norway in a friendly, and it was a winter's night, and we left the hotel, and I was sitting in front of the bus with Gordon Strachan. Gordon was the manager, and I was assistant, and Gordon's phone was sitting, and Gordon's phone rang, and it was an unknown number. And I see him look at it, and Gordon never answers unknown numbers, particularly 10 minutes before arriving at a game, an important game. But he picked it up and he answered it, and it went along the lines of, hello, yes, oh hello, yes, how are you doing? Yeah, oh thanks very much. Yeah, we're in Norway, we're playing, Okay, thanks very much. And he put the phone down and he sat his phone down. And of course I'm sitting there thinking, who is that? Who was that? And he doesn't say anything because he's waiting for me to ask. He knows I'm going to ask. So eventually I say to him, who was that then? And Gordon turns and he says, Bond, James Bond. And it was Sean Connery phoning him to wish him luck as the Scotland manager, but it was the way Gordon did it and his timing, because he knew I was going to ask,
That's one call that he was glad he did pick up then from an unknown number. Okay, well, back here at the Amex, Leon Hein is about to come on. Bertil Skirilic will, to a warm ovation from the Tromsø fans and their Brighton counterparts, make his way off on that orange stretcher back to the dressing room area. A real disappointment for him, and it is going to cause a bit of a reshuffle in that back three, which is obviously an important part of the game plan as far as the Norwegians are concerned.
Yeah, he has played in a few of the games recently, so he's not coming in raw. So it'll be as good as a straight replacement, but of course none of us want to see a boy getting stretchered off. That's dreadful, and we of course hope that he's okay.
So it's Brighton 0, Tromsø 0, as it was in Norway a week ago. We've played 13 minutes, but as I say, a lot of that has been taken up with that long stoppage to get Skirilic on the stretcher and off the pitch, and Brighton, as play restarts, immediately back on the ball with Bart Verbruggen. 2 clean sheets from 2 games already for him this season, the Dutch number 1, and he plays it into midfield, and Pascal Gross. The floodlights beginning to beam brightly all around the Amex here in the heart of the gorgeous Sussex Downs. It's been a really warm afternoon and early evening. Perfect conditions for football. The pitch looks absolutely resplendent. Down below us is Vifa, left-footed, plays the ball up to the halfway line, and Gross. It's given away by Kostulas, and sliding in there to regain possession was the Swede Yasin Ayari. And Brighton now with Buscagli will come forward over the halfway line. 0-0 here tonight, and on aggregate, as Rangers go crashing out of the Conference League, out of all form of European competition now this season, before the draw for the league phases has even taken place. That following in the footsteps of Celtic and their capitulation in their Champions League playoff earlier this week. Brighton hoping they're not going to come a cropper tonight in this one. Back with Verbruggen in goal. Lewis Dunk out to his right hand side, and the 19-year-old Vuskovic, part of the Croatia team that played England in the first game of the World Cup in Texas. Seems a lifetime ago now, doesn't it? We were all basking in the American summer. The ball is chipped forward down the Brighton left-hand side. Opportunity here for De Kuyper, so effective against Villa on Sunday. De Kuyper with the bright orange boots. Back to Buscagli. Buscagli with a cross into the area. Gross meets it with a header. Can't get it on target, and it's behind for a goal kick for Tromsø, but that was a really good Brighton move, starting down that left-hand side with De Kuyper. Good ball in from Buscagli, and maybe Gross a bit disappointed not to at least test the keeper.
Yeah, and it's the type of ball we hoped for on this other side that was fitting a little bit flat. It invites a player onto it, and 2 minutes before that, not 2 minutes even before that, 30 seconds before that, Pascal Gross was involved in the play in this half, in the Brighton half, and then he arrives in the box to get a header. It shows you the influence that he is.
A real fan favourite here, Pascal Gross, returned halfway through last season for his second spell at the club. Of course, plenty of European experience during his time away, playing Champions League football with Borussia Dortmund. As the ball is out on the right-hand side now for Gomez, the Paraguayan, midway inside Tromsø territory, away to our right. Still goalless here on TalkSport. That's a lovely switch of play from Gomez out to De Kuyper, left corner of the penalty area. Low ball in, looking I think for O'Reilly, but well defended again by the red and white Tromsø jerseys. Sat in a line of 7 or 8 on the edge of their own penalty area, with Nyhammer and Larsson lurking a bit closer to the halfway line, just in case they get the opportunity to counter, but not seen that too often in the opening 16 minutes.
The ball that was cleared there, we're giving Tromsø the credit, but really the criticism would be that the ball wasn't a good enough ball. The ball that went in for Pascal Gross is exactly the sort of ball they require, and that wasn't like it.
Here they come again down the left-hand side, Brighton. Buscagli just outside the penalty area. Looks to switch it to the right corner of the box, and Gross. Little back heel from Gomez. Maybe again guilty of overplaying it there, Brighton. And the clearance finds touch for a Seagulls throw midway inside Tromsø territory on this near side, the right. 0-0 with 16 gone. Still goalless over the two legs as well.
One of the things that Tromsø do, and we were sympathetic towards Ayari last week in Tromsø when he really just couldn't get any space because it got up towards the edge of the box. There were just so many bodies in the small area, and it was exactly there. And somebody was having to try and do a trick just to find a yard to get a shot in. So, you know, they're going to have to keep picking away at that, and somebody maybe have to beat someone, or someone maybe have to do one of these tricks or get that good cross in before they're going to get a goal.
Here's De Kuyper, the Belgium, on the left-hand side, hugging that far touchline. 10 yards or so outside the Tromsø penalty area. Buscagli up in support. Very versatile player. Buscagli started last week in Norway as a centre-back, played it at left-back against Villa, linked up really well with De Kuyper on that far side. De Kuyper scored one goal, made another in the 4-0 victory for Brighton on Sunday, and they go to Chelsea this coming Sunday. All kinds of reunions whenever that fixture comes around. Danny Welbeck the latest to swap Sussex for West London, as Tromsø give the ball away cheaply on the edge of the Brighton penalty area. Just a little bit of hesitation there between Lewis Dunk and Verbruggen. I think Dunk wanted his goalkeeper to come and clear it. In the end, the captain plays it out to the right hand side, and Brighton back in possession now. That's a lovely ball from Gomez, releasing De Kuyper down the left. De Kuyper in behind, ball into the centre towards Vifa. And again, really well defended. I think he did make contact, Vifa, but there were two Tromsø players throwing themselves in the way of the ball. And in fact, it was Vadabu who managed to clear it behind.
A great ball in behind, you know, inside the fullback. Got on the end and he done everything he could to try and get it to Vifa. But, you know, the two defenders were back and got in front of him. But really promising, really encouraging for Brighton.
Brighton 0, Tromsø 0. Corner for the Seagulls. Pascal Gross stands, hands on his hips, down by the right corner flag as we look. Lewis Dunk and Luka Vuskovic both have come forward. In fact, only Bart Verbruggen is left back on the edge of the centre circle. Everybody else in Brighton blue is either in or on the edge of the penalty area they're attacking. Referee just delaying the corner coming in here. And while that delay is happening, Pascal Gross has walked away from the ball, and it's going to be Maxime De Kuyper to deliver. Just to try and confuse the very well organised Tromsø defence. We've played 90 plus minutes in Norway, nearly 20 here tonight, and still Brighton haven't found the breakthrough goal. Might it come from this set piece? De Kuyper puts his right arm in the air. It's going to be a left-footed delivery from this near side, right in front of the goalkeeper on the edge of the 6-yard box. They didn't really deal with that competently. It's out of play in the end for another corner over on the left-hand side this time, and Pascal Gross races across to try and take it. Nervy defending from Tromsø.
One thing you can be sure, Alex, if Brighton do score, this game changes. You know, it then becomes something different, and you'll see a much freer game. So we're hoping that Brighton are going to get a one soon and open it up.
Gross with a corner. Again, the blue shirts camped in or on the edge of the penalty area. It's well defended this time, and the clearance all the way to halfway from Tonneson. So Brighton will have to build again with their yellow shirted goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen as we tiptoe towards the halfway point of this first half. Still 0-0.
Thomason, last week, you know, I know you were really impressed with him, and part of that, I think, was that he put his head on practically every ball that came into the box, and he's done it again there. What an important player he is for them.
No goals here, no goals over on TalkSport either. Second round of the Carabao Cup. Chelsea 0, Luton 0. If you want live commentary of that one, the best way to stay across both our stations tonight, TalkSport and here on TalkSport 2. Download the TalkSport app and simply swipe between them. And don't forget, Monday, transfer deadline day. All the big deals as they happen throughout the day on TalkSport. We've got a special show at 10 o'clock with Jim White and myself, Alex Crook, as the summer window, what's been a very busy summer window, slams its doors. Still plenty of deals to be done. Emi Martinez on his way from Aston Villa to Chelsea. We understand a £7.5 million deal has been agreed. He'll sign an initial 2-year contract, and Manchester City confident of prizing Enzo Fernandez away from Stamford Bridge. For the latest on all those transfer stories, talksport.com and the TalkSport YouTube channel are the places to go. Here is Lewis Dunk just inside his own half of Brighton, still goalless at the Amex. Those travelling Tromsø fans, many of them waving big red and white flags, still in excellent voice. Their side still very much in the tie, but again they've given it away on the edge of the area. Kostulas with the shot, and there's the breakthrough goal. Babis Kostulas capitalising on a real error on the edge of the Tromsø penalty area. There was only one thing on his mind as he let fly from 17 yards out, low and hard, into the bottom left-hand corner, and that should be the goal that propels Brighton towards the Conference League proper. Brighton 1, Tromsø 0.
What a fantastic finish, a real centre-forwards finish. Leonard, we talked about this, but what Fabian Hutzler had talked about being a bit more ruthless, a bit more aggressive in his shot. And this is just a fabulous shot. Wow, he takes it so early, the players try to close him down, but he gets everything on it. Fantastic finish. And now we were just saying it before the goal, and this should free it up now, because they are going to at some point going to have to, maybe not right away, maybe they'll wait till after the half time, but if they're 2-0 down by half time, it's all over. So they have to be careful, Tromsø, what they wish for, but Brighton can now push on, I think.
Well, he scored a couple of Premier League goals last season, Babis Kostulas, but that one will mean a lot. He's had to be patient, wait for his opportunity. Only in the team tonight, probably because Jorginho Ruter is injured, but when the chance came his way, he absolutely made the most of it. And you're right, it all came from Maxim de Kuiper forcing the error on the edge of the penalty area, but when it came for Kostulas, he got it out from under his stud so quickly. The goalkeeper stood absolutely no chance. Brighton finally have their noses in front in this tie, and Pascal Gross for the ball over the top. Oh, looking for Kostulas, and it's chested beyond his own goalkeeper by Vadabu, and he has to go racing back before Kostulas can get there to tap into an empty net and clears it away for a throw.
I don't know where the goalkeeper Hogard was going there. He almost overlapped his own player. A bit of a rush of blood from the very first minute when he kicked the ball out of play. He's looked nervous to me. I think there's a mistake in him that Brighton at one point will be able to capitalise on.
Brighton 1, Tromsø 0. Halfway through the first half on TalkSport 2. Gross to Vifa down the right. They scored a couple of quick-fire goals early on against Villa. Can they add to the tally in double quick time here? Certainly Tromsø reeling as Vuskovic is tripped midway inside the Norwegian half, takes the free kick quickly, and it's back now with Lewis Dunk on halfway.
A little incident there with Gomez coming back from behind the player rather than in front of him and interfering with him and causing him to make a mistake. That's what we saw against Villa, all over that area of the park. They were biting, they were sort of snapping at the heels of Villa, and there was a little bit of it there, and there's no way that Tromsø can live with that.
Remember, if Brighton do go on and book their place in the Conference League proper, you can hear the draw live on TalkSport tomorrow. We've already had the Champions League draw this evening on TalkSport. Some mouth-watering matchups. Paris Saint-Germain, the reigning champions, will face both Manchester City and Aston Villa in the league phase as Brighton come forward again here. It's a shot from O'Reilly from distance. The goalkeeper was scrambling, but I think it was always going wide for a goal kick elsewhere. Manchester United back in the Champions League after 2 years away. They'll play Bayern, Atletico Madrid and Roma amongst their league phase opponents. Liverpool also play Atletico, as well as Porto and Inter Milan. And Manchester City up against one of their former greats, Kevin De Bruyne, when Napoli visit the Etihad. It just whets the appetite, doesn't it? Arsenal beaten in the final by PSG last year. Will play both Borussia Dortmund and Napoli, alongside what look a pretty favourable set of fixtures in the league phase. Here in the Conference League playoff, it's Brighton 1, Tromsø 0, so 1-0 on aggregate to the Seagulls. A goal from Babis Kostulas, the young Greek striker. Fabian Hutzler and his white trainers out on the edge of his technical area, I think will be quite pleased now with the way that Brighton are just keeping the ball and keeping Tromsø on the back foot. We are top of the league is the cry from the home supporters on the back of that 4-0 win here against Villa on Sunday.
Long may it last.
Real feel-good factor in these opening weeks of the season down here in Sussex. Pascal Gross, the German international, forward to Gomez. Appearances, man and boy, would be a very popular European goal scorer, and he's come forward to attack this corner. He's just lurking alongside Vučkovic's fellow centre-back on the edge of the 6-yard box at the far post. A lot of these corners have been very close to the goalkeeper so far. Oh, that one is met by Gomez. I'll tell you what, it's an opportunity because he arrived unmarked and he's headed it right across the face of goal, and it almost went, well, it did go back out for a goal kick, almost hit the corner flag from where the cross had come in the first place.
Yeah, he looked like someone who was heading the ball for the first time. He wasn't convincing there at all, because there was an opportunity, just to maybe get a little bit of side on it and get it into that far corner, or actually to head it back across the goal. But yet another opportunity.
Chelsea still searching for the breakthrough over on Talk Sport. 0-0 against Jack Wilshere's Luton. Here, courtesy of the well-taken goal from Babis Kostoulas. It is Brighton 1, Tromsø 0, the same score on aggregate. Brighton, who finished 8th in the Premier League in each of the last 2 seasons. That was enough last time around for a spot in Europe. The year before they were denied because Crystal Palace won the FA Cup. Anybody who knows the history of those two and the rivalry will know that. Was a particularly bitter pill. To swallow down in Sussex. As the ball from Jakob Hallgaard only finds his opposite number, Verbruggen, who's been really no more than a spectator for the first half an hour of this game. Verbruggen.
No, but he's playing an important role, in those situations. Up front, they're forcing Tromsø to play it longer, and when they play it longer and it comes all the way through, he's there to clean up.
That time Brighton took a bit of a risk playing out from the back, but they've managed to clear to halfway, and Vifa, his pass beyond the waiting Kostoulas, and then Vučkovic has been beaten in the air by Larson.
As a player,
flag goes up.
I know what was happening there, in the sense that the mistake that UEFA made comes from the mistake that the goalie's made. Undermines everything. The next ball's not as good a ball. It's a bit difficult for him to take, and that's what happens. So that's why we talked about Verbruggen, but he has to do it right, and if he doesn't do it right, it affects the next pass and it affects the next play. Brighton
1, Tromsø 0. 1-0 over the 2 legs as well. So Brighton in a very strong position to qualify for the Conference League proper. It's a lovely take from Gomez, trying to flick the ball around Tonnesson. Coming across was Leon Hein to help him, and he played it back to the goalkeeper, and the assistant on this near side belatedly flags for an offside by Gomez in the build-up, so Tromsø have a free kick just outside their own 18-yard box. Brighton's success last season was really built upon a strong record here at the Amex, so they did lose on the last day 3-0 at home to Manchester United, when at that stage they could still have qualified for the Europa League. That was a bit of a sucker punch for Fabian Hürzeler. By and large, the Amex has been a happy hunting ground for the Seagulls ever since they came up from the Championship under Chris Hughton all those years ago. Gross with the arrowing pass out to the left, which De Kuyper keeps in play, and then tried to play it first time into the area. Maybe could have taken a touch, and Tromsø able to clear the danger. The ball is now out for a goal kick for the Norwegians.
I think the the Brighton manager will be looking at this and thinking, right, okay, he talked about being patient, and during this lull that there is a little bit in the game at the moment, after that period of a few chances, they just have to be patient. They just have to make sure that they're vigilant at the back. We talked about the goalie playing as a sweeper, making sure that he picks up anything that comes through and can start the play off sensibly and tidily, and not have a panic that we need to go and get a second goal and finish this. Be patient.
Well, here they come again inside the penalty area. The ball cut back for Pascal Gross, and again it was good defending. A combination of Hein and Matthias Tonnesson managing to smuggle it behind for a corner after good play in the build-up by Gomez. So the latest Brighton corner will be whipped in from the left-hand side. The Seagulls hunting for this second goal just to make it a little bit more comfortable on the night. The corner is about to be taken by Pascal Gross from the far side. Again, Duncan Vuskovic stood almost right in front of the goalkeeper Horgaard. That's a better ball in, and the header from Vuskovic straight into the keeper's arms. 6 yards out maybe again. Disappointed not to have asked more of a question, Brighton.
Yeah, well, I mean, a big chance again, and from someone who has scored goals and does have a record of scoring goals, maybe you'd expect a little bit better.
I'll tell you what, they're an absolute car crash every time they try and play the way out here, and they've done it again, and Brighton have capitalised. Maxim de Kuiper amongst the goals here against Villa on Sunday has just accepted an absolute gift from the Tromsø defence. Again, Horgaard with a hospital pass to one of his centre-backs, an equally poor pass from Tonnesson straight to de Kuiper, and he rolls his shot into the bottom corner, and surely now the Conference League proper awaits for Brighton. Brighton 2, Tromsø 0. This is hideous defending.
Well, it's hideous play. You know, first of all, he's rolled it back to his keeper, he's shortened the distance, they can get to the keeper. You know, they've closed it, de Kuiper's done brilliantly closing down. De Kuiper started really, really well. He's been as sharp as anyone so far. Him and Gomez for me have been the standouts so far. But he just rolls it into the corner, and we didn't say game, set and match, but you know, there's a long, long way back for Tromsø now.
I think it was Leon Hein who made the final mistake, because having been passed the ball, probably not in an area where he wants it, he tries to take a touch inside his own penalty area, and de Kuiper picks his pocket and then just finds the bottom corner. 2-0.
When the ball arrives at him, he just doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know, he's too close to his feet are too close together, it's too close to his feet for him to be able to just launch it out of the park, so he has to take a touch. It's the poor play that, you know, before that it gets him in trouble. He'll be pointed, the finger will be pointed at him, but you know, the mistake came before that.
So Brighton leading by 2-0. Kostulas with the opener, and de Kuiper making it 2 in 2 games with the second. So Tromsø are going to have to score at least twice here to force extra time, and 3 times if they are to, well, achieve mission impossible really. They were heavy underdogs before a ball is kicked, and when you concede goals like that, you can understand why. And Brighton should now go on to win quite handsomely as Gomez comes over the halfway line. Good close control from the Paraguayan once again, and then he gives it away, and it's a free kick conceded by de Kuiper. They don't even play that very well, and Brighton have it back with Gross. His pass is over hit to Gomez, and it's back now with the goalkeeper Horgaard, who looked pretty solid in the first leg. He's not anything but tonight, the former Stoke and Wigan man.
I mean, one of the things is, you know, they've got a free kick there, take a breath, you know, put their hand in it, get themselves up the pitch a wee bit, maybe play it wide, go from there, win a throwing up the pitch, get themselves up the pitch. Instead of that, he tries to take some sort of quick free kick, gives it back to Brighton, and Brighton are back at them.
Europe again, ole ole, sing the Brighton fans. Barring something quite remarkable in the final 10 minutes of this first half and the second, they can begin to plan for that Conference League draw tomorrow. Which weird and wonderful destinations will they be booking flights to? Stay tuned to Talk Sport and you will find out first and fastest.
I don't know if you watched the Celtic game the other night. 2-0's not enough. I think
I'd have more confidence in Brighton. I think,
when Brighton go 5 up, we can relax.
That's Mark McGee, former Brighton manager, ex-Scotland international as well, as Horgard, the goalkeeper for Tromsø, plays it over the halfway line. Maybe going a bit more direct could be the answer here. One back by Vifa in the right back position. He taps it back to his goalkeeper for Bruggen, but there might be a stoppage here because there are a couple of players down. Vuskovic, the Brighton man, I think Hein Larsson, the striker, just a collision halfway inside Brighton territories. The referee taking no chances, thinking it might be a head injury. Both players now back on their feet, with Brighton leading by 2-0 on the night and on aggregate.
Yeah, there's nothing much in that. He checks out because the ball's going back to his keeper. The centre half checks out and the ball just runs into his back. He's claiming some sort of foul, but there was nothing in it.
Still Chelsea 0, Luton 0 in that Carabao Cup tie over on Talk Sport. Fulham 0, Wimbledon 0 just underway. Also in the Carabao Cup, in the Conference League, Shamrock beaten by Coops 1-0 on the night, 2-1 on aggregate. Rangers crashing out on penalties to Jablanek. So a really disappointing night for Derek McInnes and his players. Hibernian in action at home to Ghent, 0-0 on the night and on aggregate. They've only been playing about 8 minutes in that one. And here it is Brighton 2, Tromsø of Norway 0, same score on aggregate. Don't forget, live football coming your way over the course of this weekend. Tomorrow night we're at Selhurst Park on TalkSport. Crystal Palace hosting Manchester City. Saturday your 12:30 offering is Liverpool against Nottingham Forest, and on Monday night Aston Villa host the champions Arsenal. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff on TalkSport as Vifa breezes past Thomason, plays the ball out to the left hand side, low into the penalty area. Vifa gets it back again, shoots right footed, 3-0, and Brighton are running riot. Mats Vifa started the move on the halfway line, skipped past the half-hearted challenge of Thomason. When he got it back midway inside the penalty area, he fires it low and hard into the far corner. It is now Brighton 3, Tromsø 0.
And that was that edge that was missing last week, anything that presented itself, and tonight it's different. That was a great finish from Weaver, but he does start it, and then he runs past the ball, he runs through a tackle as well as riding a tackle, and eventually when it comes back to him, he's lined up, the targets and sights are all lined up for him when the ball comes to him, and he just drills it into that far corner. So again, a great bit of play and a great finish.
Yeah, brilliant the way he brought it down.
Brilliant.
And an emphatic right foot finish into that far corner. It was a low ball from Biscaglia. It actually flicked up off one of the Brighton players. And that meant that Vifa had to take a touch before getting his shot away. But really good technique from the Dutchman, and a really good night for Fabian Hertzler and his players. 4 here against Villa at the weekend. 3 already tonight in this first half, and 3 different scorers once again.
Yeah, it's great, and it just shows you that Lee actually did know what he was talking about when he said that Brighton.
Well, here's a chance at the other end. Hein Larsson put the ball into the penalty area. It was a tame effort in the end from Varnard, blocked easily by Vuskovic, but just a warning sign, Mark McGee, maybe. But Tromsø don't believe they're out of it yet, even at 3-0. They might be if it goes to 4, but the goalkeeper Horgard out there to clear, just as Gomez was thinking about getting a shot away.
Yeah, the odds that were given before I thought were unrealistic, but clearly they know what they're doing, the bookies. But I think that there was a little huddle after the third goal, and I think the captain was just saying, look, let's try and get this under control. I don't think for a minute they think they'll get any chance of getting back into this game, but what they don't want is they don't want to lose another 3 and end up this game being 6 or 7.
And those travelling Tromsø fans, really for the first time tonight, 41 minutes in, are sat rather solemnly in their seats. Brighton playing the ball around at will.
I'm not sure what the Tromsø supporters would have been expecting here tonight. I think they would have been super optimistic if they thought that their team was coming here to win.
Is it a night just to enjoy yourselves, enjoy a trip to the Sussex coast? The players don't look like they're enjoying it particularly at the moment, as again Gomez plays the ball forward. De Kuiper couldn't quite get there, and it's cleared to the halfway line.
Ayari's had a big part in this as well. You know, he's the one that's getting back in there and winning it back, and then setting people off, giving it to Pascal Gross, or giving it to Riley and setting the play off. He's doing a great job in the middle of the park. And it's funny because coming into these last few games where I've watched him, in my mind I didn't see him entirely as that type. I've seen him much more as a kind of bit of a creative, but he's shown he's got that side to his game as well.
4 minutes to go in this first half. Brighton 3, Tromsø 0 on TalkSport 2. Goals from Kostulas, De Kuiper and from Vifa.
Vifa's deserved a goal for his performances in the last 3 games that I've watched him. I think that he's played really well in all the games, and he's contributed a lot to those games, so I think that he certainly deserved a goal.
And he's another player who can play in a variety of positions, which is every coach's dream, isn't it? To have that versatility. And
you know, Fabian talked in the interview about having to play every 3 days. You know, so when you have to mix and match and swap around, you need players. You need an extra, you know, a couple of players like him can add you 2 more players because they can play other positions. You know, so they are very important to the squad.
Throw in for Tromsø, 15 yards or so inside the Brighton half on this near side, the left, to be taken by Alexander Varnard, the left wing back. Got to say, both wing backs, Isaac Dahlqvist and Varnard on this near side, very disappointing over the 2 legs. The ball is helped on to Grunt. Challenge from Vuskovic, concedes a throw just down by the corner flag on this near side. Brighton subs warming up away to our left. Fabian Hertzsch in a nice position now, that probably early in the second half he might rest 1 or 2 of his first teamers ahead of the trip to Chelsea on Sunday, and maybe bring on 1 or 2 of those youngsters.
Yeah, I think he will. I don't know how early he'll do it. Maybe after an hour. But you know, one thing I'd say, you know, Lewis Dunk must be absolutely delighted. You know, with the centre-half partnership that he's got now with Vuskovic. You know, he looks a super player. He's composed. He's competitive. He's a big lad. He wins headers, and you know, even in.
Still got Pascal Strout to come in as well. Here is Hein Larsson though, into the penalty area, shoots, blocked by Lewis Dunk, comes back to Hein Larsson, the ball looping up inside that Brighton box. They've not completely dealt with the danger just yet, and it's still bouncing around inside the 18-yard area. Brought down by Grunt, and eventually it's Pascal Gross who pokes it clear, and now Brighton with Nawali Kostulas might break on the counter-attack, tries to play it forward to De Kuiper. Well watched by Tonnesson, he helps it back to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, just my last point, Vuskovic. I mean, on Sunday against Villa, he hit a fantastic diagonal, you know, so he showed he's got that in his locker as well, so he's not just a centre-half, he can play.
Brighton leading by 3-0 here, 3-0 up on aggregate as well, heading for the Conference League proper. A very professional performance, seizing on the defensive errors of Tromsø. That's going to be a yellow card. Easy decision, Varnard wrestling with Diego Gomez.
I think him and Gomez were having a bit of a laugh at that there, you know. It was just desperation, you know. He just couldn't do anything else but foul them, and the referee did everything he can. He's standing right there, did everything he can to let it go and to let him go, but it wasn't going to happen. So
it's just a little bit too early to try and swap shirts if you're Alexander Varnard. You had a big handful of the blue and pinstripe jersey of Diego Gomez, another player who's really caught the eye over the course of the first half here. Brighton leading by 3-0. Vifa, who got the third, dinks it forward, looking for the run of Gross. Good defending again by Tonnesson, but then turning his way into trouble, allowing Gross to pick his pocket. And here's Gross into the penalty area, crosses to the far side. Oh, De Kuiper was going to hit it on the volley. It's taken away from him by Buscagli. In the end, they have to settle for a corner, and De Kuiper stretches both arms outside and says, "Why didn't you let me hit it?" Olivier.
You know, at times Pascal Gross looks as if he's towing a caravan, but he still gets in behind them. You know, he's the guy that's making that run. He's the guy that's taking throw-ins. He's the guy that's taking corners. He's had a header. He's won the ball back there. He's robbed them of the ball and set up another chance, which has led to a corner. You know, we spoke about it before, and we spoke about him with Fabian Hertzsch. You know, he's a great player for Brighton.
5 minutes of added time at the end of the first half here. Brighton 3-0 to good, 0-0 at half-time in the Carabao Cup between Chelsea and Luton. As Pascal Gross prepares to take the latest Brighton corner. Could they get a fourth? in these 5 added minutes at the end of the first half. Gross with the in-swinging delivery, punched away by Horgard, headed back towards goal by Gomez, cleared away from underneath his own crossbar by Leon Hine, I think it was, and now Tromsø able to clear, but not very far. Back with Kostulas, who tries to pirouette away from his man, and Kostulas now brings the ball into the centre of the Tromsø half. Gomez out to this right-hand side, and Matt O'Reilly in for the injured Jack Hinchelwood this evening as the cross comes into the penalty area, met by Kostulas, gets underneath the effort and it's over the crossbar. It stays 3-0.
Yep, well, we could say he should have scored, but I wouldn't say he should have scored. He got on the end of it, it came over the top of a defender and I think one of his own players, and it's a difficult one to read, and it drops right in front, and he got something on it but he couldn't keep it down.
So we've played 2 of the 5 added minutes here on TalkSport 2. It's still Brighton 3, Tromsø 0. Remember, Rangers out of the Conference League and out of Europe altogether after a penalty shootout defeat in the Czech Republic against Jablonec. So they won't be part of the draw. No potential Battle of Britain, not Brighton against Rangers anyway. Hearts are in the draw, so we could still get an Anglo-Scottish affair.
And of course there would be a Tony Bloom connection in both those teams, which would be interesting. Wonder what heart he'd wear that night.
I think his heart pretty much bleeds blue, doesn't it? Here's Varner with a cross at the other end, loops up off Vuskovic and collected from the sky by Verbruggen, who throws it out to Pascal Gross. Gross in no real hurry to come forward, and then looks to switch the play to Diego Gomez on this right hand side. Thomason's header. He's asking a bit here of the goalkeeper Hørgaard to stop him from going out for a corner. He does that, clears it to the halfway line. Matt O'Reilly urged to shoot, but Hørgaard now back in position as Vuskovic will just play it to his left, and the captain Lewis Dunk. Brighton 3, Tromsø 0. Well, very routine first half for the Seagulls.
Yeah, it's the scoreline I think that Fabio and his staff would have been hoping for, and suspecting that they were capable of against this team. But you know, you have to go and do it, and they've went about their business, as you say, in a very professional way. They've passed it when they can, they've won it back quickly when they needed to, and they've taken their chances brilliantly.
Lewis Dunk with the ball, switched out to the left hand side, collected by the impressive De Kuiper. Kostulas comes out to that left hand side, then rolls it to Gross, 15 yards outside the penalty area. We're into the last couple of minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half. Brighton seeking a 4th goal to absolutely rubber stamp their win. Bart Verbruggen still hasn't really had a meaningful save to make on the night. And it's back with Lewis Dunk now on halfway, and you feel, Mark McGee, they're just playing for time.
Yeah, and you notice, in all sorts of instances all over the park where the Brighton players are just that little bit quicker, getting to the ball, getting the ball under control. They're just a different sort of level from the Tromsø players, and the Tromsø players are finding that very, very difficult.
Tromsø beat Cluj of Romania 7-1 on aggregate in the last qualifying round to set up this tie against the Seagulls. Defended well enough to keep the scores level at 0-0 after the first leg, but have been swept aside, and I have to say a lot of the goals have been their own making, with defensive sloppiness, trailing by 3-0 as we move into the final few seconds of added time at the end of this first half.
It's not just in this game though, Alex, we see it every week. You watch the Premier League and we see goals scored every week from people trying to play out from the back. It's the modern way. It is risky, and it does sometimes turn into something bad, and it has for them tonight.
Pascal Gross into the centre circle, and Ayari back to Kostulas, well defended by Tromsø this time, and there is the half-time whistle. A warm ovation for the Brighton players. They had to be patient, they had to wait until the 21st minute for Babis Kostulas to capitalise on some slapstick Tromsø defending to finally break the deadlock in this tie. 13 minutes later, even worse play from Tromsø, gifted the informed Maxim De Kuiper the second, then Mats Vifa rifling in the third, 6 minutes before the end of normal time in this first half. To say it's a long way back for Tromsø, Mark McGee, is an understatement.
Yeah, I think there's no way back for them. I think that Brighton have done it in absolutely order that they wanted done. They had that 20-minute spell where, as the manager warned, they might have to be patient, they might have the bottle to be 0-0, to be vigilant at the back, but to keep playing and to keep looking to make chances. Then they get the breakthrough, regardless of how it came. They get the breakthrough, they're 1-0 up, and then the game changes a little bit, and they've just stepped on from that, and they thoroughly deserve to be 3 up.
And again, like at the weekend, he was asked, wasn't he, Fabian Hurtzler, before that game against Villa, well, where are the goals going to come from? Danny Welbeck now having departed the club, and he said, don't worry, we'll spread them around, and they are 3 different goal scorers tonight.
Yeah, and that is a great thing. Whether that works against the absolute top teams that they're going to have to play in the Premier League, I'm not sure, but I think until they have some other way, that's his plan. Everybody's got to look to want to get on the score sheet. If you get an opportunity, go there, take the chance, don't be afraid to put yourself in a position to miss. And time again we've seen tonight, Pascal Gross has got in there, Gomez has got in there, and 1 or 2 others have nearly get in.
Well, they braved the Arctic Circle last week. No danger of Brighton being caught cold tonight. Half-time at the Amex. It is Brighton 3, the Norwegians of Tromsø 0.
Conference League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
When you're growing a small business, whether you've built a team of 20 or you're a one-man band, you need someone who understands the ins and outs. With an HSBC Small Business Banking account, you'll have access to our business specialists, in person and virtually, as well as no monthly account fee, because whatever your small business looks like, we're proud to support you. Search HSBC Small Business Banking account to get started. Subject to eligibility, credit checks and T's and C's. Visit business.hsbc.co.uk for details.
At AJ Bell, we believe investing is for everyone, even people who know nothing about investing. Like Keith, who thought dividends were a boy band. Jessica, who thought compound interest was a prison dating app. And Sue thought FTSE 100 was a bit of under-the-table fun, which surprised her accountant.
Oh, no.
If we can make investing feel good for them, it's no wonder which have recommended us 8 years running. AJ Bell, feel good investing. The value of your investments can go up or down.
Hello?
Mel, something huge has landed.
The UFOs, it's all over the news.
Better, the mini sail event. Hurry up and get down here.
I think that's why the aliens are here too.
I do now. Gotta go.
The sale event has landed. Out of this world offers across the entire range from 3rd to 7th of September at your local mini retailer. Applicable on new mini orders placed during the sale event and registered by 31st December 2026. Visit mini.co.uk/sale event.
Have you seen the Johnston's Decorating Centre Bonanza sale?
No, what's the deal?
3 10-litre tubs of Johnston's Trade Cover Plus, just £34 each, with a free Pro Gold brush set. Or 3 10-litre tubs of Johnston's Trade Acrylic Durable Mat, just £50 each, with a free work platform.
Well, that's worth stocking up for.
The Johnston's Decorating Centre Bonanza sale is on now. Visit your local branch or shop at johnstonsdc.com. T's and C's apply. Prices exclude VAT at 20%. Selected products only. Free gifts available while stocks last.
Crocs Clips just dropped in Happy Meal. Express yourself however you feel. Sports mode, stylish or superstar too. Whatever your vibe, we've got the mode for you. Some fun, some food. It's all inside this Happy Meal.
Until the 21st of September from 11 a.m. Includes one pre-selected book or toy. Crocs range comprises toys only while stocks last. Fair ordering policy applies.
Switching to Vodafone full fibre broadband is now as easy as pie. Ooh, freshly baked. It's a walk in the park. Hello, little fella. It's like taking candy from a baby. Come on, as if I'd do that. With One Touch Switch, it's easy. We sort everything out for you. We even contact your current provider. Plus, we'll help towards leaving fees. Switch today to full fibre broadband with Vodafone.
Up to £200 credit to cover leaving fees. More information and terms at vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
With Lidl Plus, say yes to a sizzling summer bank holiday barbecue and get 20% off our deluxe hot dogs and burgers. Tender, juicy, and almost a little too more-ish. Lidl, more to value. 18 plus GB only while stocks last. Terms apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV. Offer on 2nd of the 9th, 26.
Conference League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk.
Get the UK's best sports radio station in one downloadable application. With the TalkSport app on your mobile phone, you'll never be bored or on your own.
The TalkSport app. Hear, watch and scroll unbeatable content from the world's biggest sports radio station. Whenever you want, wherever you want. Available from the App Store now. Terms and conditions apply.
Passion, heartbreak, glory, despair, triumph.
Fantastic try.
The Conference League.
Brilliant reaction.
Live on TalkSport 2.
Big red and white flag, still in excellent voice. Their side still very much in the tie, but again they've given it away on the edge of the area. Kostulas with the shot, and there's the breakthrough goal. Babis Kostulas capitalising on a real error on the edge of the Tromsø penalty area.
He takes it so early, the players try to close him down, but he gets everything on it. Fantastic finish.
Tell you what, they're an absolute car crash every time they try and play the way out here, and they've done it again, and Brighton have capitalised. Maxim de Kuiper amongst the goals here against Villa on Sunday has just accepted an absolute gift.
We didn't say game, set and match, but there's a long way back for Tromsø now.
FIFA breezes past Tonnesson, plays the ball out to the left-hand side, low into the penalty area. FIFA gets it back again, shoots right-footed, 3-0, and Brighton are running riot. Yes, you are listening to the Conference League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent a Car. Here for it, book now at enterprise.co.uk. Brighton 3, Tromsø 0 is the half-time score, 3-0 on aggregate as well. Brighton cruising into tomorrow's Conference League draw. You'll hear that live on TalkSport around about midday tomorrow. Tomorrow night we've got live and exclusive Premier League commentary for you as Manchester City go to Crystal Palace. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. And with the news of the Champions League draw this evening, a brand new episode of the Trans Euro Express podcast is out tomorrow, giving an in-depth assessment of the draw in Monaco. Manchester City will face reigning European champions PSG at home. They also face the trip to the Camp Nou to face Barcelona. European football fanatics Kev Hatchard and Jack Collins will give you the guided tour you need to the league phase, available on Spotify, Apple, the TalkSport app and wherever you get your podcasts. More live football coming your way on TalkSport 2 tomorrow. We'll bring you championship action with Wrexham facing Birmingham City. Plenty for Blues boss Chris Davis to ponder after a heavy 6-1 defeat in midweek to Brentford in the Carabao Cup. He's been speaking to TalkSport's Tom Ross.
There's been a few occasions since I've been at the club where we've been quite low, particularly obviously last season there was 2 to 3 times where we were really low, and I always got the sense they were with me, they were trying to get it right, and he always pulled it out and turned up when it really mattered. So and I got the same sense again, to be honest with you. I think I'm not naive to the level of that result and what that means, but I also know the game and I know that it can happen. And it wasn't for the want of trying. It was a game that really just got away from us. They've had 8 shots on goal, 6 have gone in, and you go, okay, it's or 8 shots on target and 6 have gone in, and we got well beaten. There's no coming away from that. But do our players want to put it right? Are they hurting? Do they care? Yes, is the answer to all those questions. So we have to show that reaction now.
Being a manager is a lonely place. When you win, everybody's clapping your back. When you lose, you turn around, you're standing there on your own most of the time, aren't you? What's it been like for now with the owners and the board? Have they been supportive?
Yeah, I think, I spoke to Tom Wagner yesterday. I spoke to Jeremy Dow. We obviously don't have a sporting director at the moment. Like we had obviously Craig Gardner last year. Yeah. I speak to a lot day to day, but no, I spoke to both, and I think there's obviously disappointment, frustration on all parts because of the result, but the support is there, and we just need to make sure that we react, which we've done before, and it's at these times that you find out about people. As a manager, you say it's lonely, and you do look around and you say, right, who's with me in this time, or am I on my own? And if you stick together, then you can really be successful in this game.
When you've sat with your players, and I know post-match there's always a sitting down and looking at what went right, what went wrong, what was the outcome of that? What was the outcome?
I think for me it was what it means going forward. So the game itself, we can look at all that and everything that comes with it, and there was a lot that went wrong on the night, and I've watched it back a couple of times, and you can go on and on about that stuff, but it's really understanding for me why did it happen, how did we let that game get away from us as much as it can happen, what were the things that we didn't do well enough, so they have to understand that. Because it was a negative experience. I felt for the players on the pitch as hard as it was for me standing on the side as the manager of this team. It was for them on the pitch having to be 6-1 down in a game. So it's understanding why, and then it's I just reinforced to them that the most important thing in this game is resilience. You could ask any player or manager that's had any career of note across the game and not just in football, and resilience is the number one thing. If you can bounce back quickly, and you can define resilience as the ability to bounce back quickly into your normal shape, if you can bounce back quickly, then you can have a long successful career, because you're going to have your punches, you're going to have your setbacks. So that was the main emphasis of my talk to the players, was that that's the sort of character that we need to show.
For fans and people like myself, we've been talking about the 6-1 non-stop because it hurts us all. But for you and the players, it really has to be put out your mind and focus on Wrexham.
Yeah, I think there's a strategy that I always talk to them about, which is win, lose or draw. You analyse it, discuss it, talk about it. You take your lessons, you take your medicine, and then you draw a line under it and you move on to the next game. If you're unable to do that, you will just dwell on the past, good and bad. There's no point in it. It's done now. As far as I'm concerned, that game is in the history books and it's done now. We have to move on. Everything's focused on Wrexham. Then we've got 2 home games. We've got 6 games in 23 days or something like that. Busy period. Lots of points to play for. Lots of hopefully big wins for us coming, and lots of good days.
That's the Birmingham manager Chris Davis in conversation with TalkSport's Tom Ross. For all the latest news and discussion from the weekend's EFL action, you can listen to EFL All Access with Hugh Woozencroft every Monday evening here on TalkSport 2 from 5 p.m. If you miss the show, it's also available as a podcast, which you can find wherever you get your podcast from, or on the TalkSport app. Let's just remind you once again of the plethora of live games we've got coming your way over the next few days. Tomorrow night, live and exclusive on TalkSport, Palace Manchester City is an 8 o'clock kickoff. Same time here on TalkSport 2. Wrexham against Birmingham from the Championship on Saturday. We're at Anfield for Liverpool against Forest, live and exclusive on TalkSport at 12:30. That's followed by our Around the Ground show. Mark McGee amongst your expert pundits as Adrian Durham brings you the fastest goal service on the radio. Watford West Ham is a 3 o'clock kickoff on TalkSport, so a bit of pressure early season on Nuno Espirito Santo, the West Ham manager, after a couple of disappointing results on Sunday. Sam Matterface and myself, we're at Old Trafford as Manchester United host Ipswich. We go around the grounds on Game Day Live, all the goals that go in from the Premier League and the EFL. Monday night, Aston Villa against Arsenal, live and exclusive from the Premier League. That is an 8 o'clock kickoff on Talk Sport. Still waiting for the players to come back out here at the Amex. Mark McGee, former Brighton boss. What will Fabian Hurtzler be saying to his charges?
I think a lot of it will be about energy preservation, so he'll be saying to them, we don't want the game to be too expansive, we don't want to be on the edge of our own box and trying to score at the other end in 15 seconds. We want to play ourselves up to the halfway line where we can then, over shorter distances, go and take them on, go and get inside their box, and also when we lose it, those distances are of a nature that we can get to it and we can stop them playing. So don't let the game be too expansive, don't play up too early, play from the back as they do, and they do it well. Play through midfield, they switch play from one side to the other and they get down the other side. Keep that going, but like I say, energy preservation.
Well, the Tromsø players are the first to re-emerge. Does look like they're going to make at least one change for the start of this second half. Letsin Camos is stripped and ready to come on. So too is Lars Olden Larsen. So it's a double change for Tromsø. Hein Assen Larsen is the first player to replace, so Camos will go alongside Nyhammer in attack. And we have also, I think, seen the last of... Is it Dahlqvist, is it, who's going off the wing back? I'll confirm that in just a moment. In fact, no, it's Jesper Grunt who is making way for the second of those Tromsø change. I guess they just happen to be seen to be doing something, Mark.
Yeah, it's very difficult for us when we only know the players from a couple of games to understand, why those might be the ones that come off, because we can't see it all really. But clearly the manager has made changes. He's got to try and stem this tide. He knows that Brighton are going to come up at them. He knows that Brighton are going to want to get the next goal to really put this to bed, as they say, and I expect that's what Brighton to do. But they, like Brighton, as I said to Huddersfield, we want them not to become too expansive, because they'll be the same. They can't use up all their energy.
Brighton are making a couple of changes as well. We're going to see a debut for Pascal Struijk. He's on for the captain Lewis Dunk at the start of this second half, following his move from Leeds United in the summer, and Costinha, who did come off the bench against Villa at the weekend, is also coming on. And again, just double checking the change. I think it's Mats Vifa, the right back, who is making way, which of course would make sense. Costinha, a right back by trade, a former Brighton player, by the way, has put Chelsea in front over on Talk Sport. Brighton 1, Luton 0. Danny Welbeck with his first Chelsea goal in that Carabao Cup second round tie. And a warm Amex Stadium welcome there for Pascal Struijk. And I know, Mark McGee, you've been quite impressed with Costinha during Brighton's pre-season campaign.
Yeah, and we want to see them all, because as the manager does, he wants to see the combinations of players playing with each other, and I think that he generally, there's not been many failures through the pre-season, and therefore he trusts to put anyone who needs to go in there and do a job, that they're going to go in there and do the job that he requires them to do.
We are back and underway on TalkSport 2. Brighton 3 goals to the good from the first half. They're now lining up with Verbruggen in goal, a back four of Costinha, Struijk, Vuskovic and Buscagli, Gross and Ayari in midfield, Gomez, O'Reilly and De Kuyper behind Kostulas in attack for Tromsø. Facing mission impossible, Hergaard the goalkeeper, Vadabu, Hein and Tonnesson the back three, Dahlqvist and Varner the wing back, Jensen, Edvardsen, Larsen in midfield, and then Nyhammer alongside Kamos up front. Brighton on the attack here. Just breaks down on the edge of the Tromsø penalty area, kept alive by Yasin Ayari in that defensive midfield role. Can play further forward when needed. Here is De Kuyper, the ever-willing Belgian, running down the left-hand side, back to Buscagli. Now Pascal Struijk, his first touch as a Brighton player after that £20 million move from Leeds in the summer. Good strength in depth for Brighton, certainly in the defensive areas. I think maybe Seagulls fans would still like to see another forward or two added to the party. Yankuba Minte, a target for Liverpool over the last week or so, is still at the club but likely to be out until October. They've sold Carlos Baleba, of course. Other injury absentees tonight, including Mitoma and Ruter and Jack Hinchelwood, who was so good here against Villa on Sunday. They'll be hoping he'll be fit for the trip to Chelsea in a few days' time. Brighton dictating the pace of the game early in this second half, leading by 3 goals to 0. It's with Buscagli in the left back position, looks to play it forward to De Kuyper. Fulham lead against Wimbledon. Emil Smith-Rowe has put the Premier League side in front in the Carabao Cup. And it's still Chelsea 1, Luton 0. Welbeck with a goal over on Talk Sport right now. Brighton will go to Manchester United in the third round after that draw last night. Brighton, who beat Manchester United in the third round of the FA Cup last season. Not the easiest draw, Mark McGee, for your old club.
No, well, I think that the excitement for the fans is part of any cup competition, and I think they'll be looking forward to it. But I'm sure Fabian will be looking forward to the challenge as well.
Here's Costinha, makes his way to the edge of the Tromsø penalty area, plays the ball out to his right and Gomez. Gross wants it on the edge of the box. Gross back to Gomez. Brighton still manipulating the ball well here, making the pitch big for this Tromsø side, using the width. Here is De Kuyper. It's been switched to this near side, the left. De Kuyper in the bright orange footwear. Could have played it into Kostulas, instead pulled it back for Buscagli, who crosses and cleared away. Kamos out to his right hand side.
Just back to that Manchester United thing. Brighton have got a tremendous record in recent years against Manchester United, so I don't think anyone will take that for granted.
I just wonder what the priority will be with European football, how highly in the target list it will be for Fabian Hertz, whereas if you're Michael Carrick, you need to put some silverware in the cabinet, don't you?
Yeah, and that's probably what on the night will make Manchester United favourites. But you know, they won't go there and throw it in just because they've got European football. They'll go there and they'll do it in a way that conserves. You know, I talk about this about conserving energy. I know that Fabian, you know, is big on that, and they'll go to Manchester United with a plan that allows them to, you know, compensate, you know, for having to work too hard.
Brighton 3, Tromsø 0, as it was at half-time, 3-0 on aggregate. And the home side coming forward down the left-hand side with De Kuyper after a lovely switch of play from Costinha, the substitute. De Kuyper's ball in. Kostulas couldn't get there, and nor could Costinha at the far post. Any kind of touch from either of them, and it surely would have been 4-0. Almost a dream debut, or dream impact from Costinha.
Yeah, I think the ball goes in, and the player, you know, going there first, is it De Kuyper, you know, sticks a leg out, and I think it causes. I think in fact it was the centre forward.
Yeah, Kostulas with the initial one.
It was him that stuck his leg out, and that put the other player off.
Brighton 3, Tromsø 0. You feel they could score as many as they want tonight. Brighton, very different story from the first one when they had plenty of shots, but none of them really threatened to result in goals. They look very dangerous whenever they get the ball forward, and they've done it again here with De Kuyper. Just peeling away on the left corner of the penalty area, across towards the far post, and it's headed over the bar by Kostulas. He could have had a hat-trick already.
Yeah, and you know, there's another player behind him, but he is a centre forward who's got every right to, and he's saying that, you know, I'm a centre forward, you know, I've got every right to go and attack that. You know, he doesn't quite get on the end of it, but I think he's within his rights.
You are listening to Brighton against Tromsø in the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, whatever it is, they're here for it. Brighton here for more goals seemingly, because they've dominated the first 6 minutes of the second half without being able to add to the 3 they got in the first. Camo's trying to cause problems at the other end. He comes away with the ball, the substitute for Tromsø. Here is Ruben Jensen. Rare touch for him in opposition territory. They've gone back now inside their own half to Vadabu. He was the Tromsø player who called Brighton arrogant for not training on their plastic pitch on the eve of the game last week. That was medical advice, I understand it, to avoid any injuries on the artificial surface. Didn't go down well with the Tromsø defender.
I think that decision was backed up though by the fact that they left 3 very important players out, De Kuyper, Dunk and Hinchelwood, because of the surface and the fear that they could suffer on that surface. So I think they again, talking about within their rights, they were quite entitled to not train on it if that's what they felt.
Lewis Dunk taken off at half time tonight as they continue to manage the captain's minutes. Pascal Gross now wearing the armband in this second half of his team. 3 goals to good. Here's De Kuyper, challenged on this near side, and maybe a chance for Tromsø to come forward in the counter-attack. And Buscaglia has gone careering into Lars Larsson, so it's going to be a free kick on the near side for the visitors. Fulham 2, Wimbledon 0, Rodrigo Muniz. Fulham will be away at West Ham in the third round. I saw a very youthful West Ham team win 4-1 at Southampton in midweek. Much needed win actually for Nuno Espirito Santo. Their championship campaign has not exactly got off to a flyer. So Fulham and Chelsea joining the other Premier League teams in the hat. I think I'm right in saying we've not had a Premier League casualty yet in the League Cup. No Premier League team has gone out, I don't think, this week, are they, in the League Cup? Another injury delay here. It's Leon Hine who came on early in the first half for Skirovic after he was carried off on a stretcher.
Well, I think we're looking down below us to see, you know, the activity. There are Brighton players and Tromsø players warming up, and it's about this stage you'd expect some changes. One of the staff is telling me to stay out, but sort of motioning to get yourself ready, you know, sort of saying to them, you know, get going, get yourself warmed up properly, ready to go on. So I think very soon there will be changes.
Well, you'd like to see young Ibrahim Osman again, wouldn't you? Really impressed with him. You gave him man of the match in Norway last week.
Yeah, well, I gave him a man of the match for a sort of 20-minute spell, which was the best 20-minute spell I thought of the game, because if you remember, Beefer was Buscaglia was running past him and taking the space, and then he sort of backed off and let him go at people, and he suddenly changed the game and made chances and could have won the game for Brighton during that spell. So I thought that was the most positive sort of contribution that anybody played in the night towards, you know, winning the game.
They're down to 10 momentarily, Tromsø. Heinhoff injured, and the ball was pumped forward into the penalty area. Verbruggen got there ahead of Lars Larsen, who's been penalised for a foul on the goalkeeper. Still being treated, Leon Heim, for what looks like a head wound. So Brighton 3 goals up and a man up at the moment. Good switch of play by Diego Gomez out to his right, or Yasin Ayari rather, out to his right hand side, and the ball in towards Kostulas, who again with a header goes for goal, long way out, and can only direct it wide for a goal kick.
It's got to be a tremendous header to score from that distance, but there was enough pace on the ball coming in that, you know, it was a directional thing. He didn't have to put any pace on it, but he probably had to try and head it back the way it's coming into the goalkeeper's left hand side.
Brighton back in Premier League action on Sunday up against Chelsea, currently leading Luton by 1-0 in the Carabao Cup over on Talk Sport. Sam Matterface and myself, Alex Crook, will be at Old Trafford on Sunday afternoon, where Manchester United welcome Ipswich in the 4:30 kick-off. All the goals they go in the 2 p.m. games as well, including Brighton's trip to Stamford Bridge, which is a fixture that usually produces goals and plenty of drama. Brighton up against their former players, Danny Welbeck and João Pedro, this weekend. Will they be up against Rob Sanchez in goal? Chelsea having agreed a £7.5 million deal with Aston Villa for Emi Martinez. Looks like Sanchez's days as Blues number 1 are numbered.
I mean, I've been surprised about, you know, Martinez being available the way he is, and for the price of he is, you know, even at his age, you know, he's a tremendous goalkeeper, and I think would be a tremendous asset to Chelsea.
Ball played forward by Pascal Struijk in the heart of that Brighton defence, won by Lars Larsen on this near side, and out for a Tromsø throw. He has brought a little bit of energy since being introduced at half time.
Yeah, I think it's got a bit untidy, you know, and I think Fabian Husserl's down in the touchline, you know, he's become a little bit animated, so I think that there will be 1 or 2 of them starting to, you know, lose a little bit of concentration, partly because of tiredness, partly because of the circumstances of the game, 3-0 up. So I think he does have to make changes to sort of reorganise and to get 1 or 2 players with fresh legs out there that are going to maybe get it back to a more consistent sort of better play, because at the moment it's a bit ragged.
56 gone, Brighton 3, Tromsø 0, as it was at half time. No goals last week in Norway, so 3-0 on aggregate. Costina comes forward down the right. I think he's won his team a corner, as he knows, out for a throw actually, down by that right corner flag that's just fluttering in the gentle breeze that is currently sweeping the Amex Stadium. The referee just delaying the throw in being taken, not entirely sure why. Maybe there were 2 balls on the pitch momentarily. Anyway, Costina has it on that far touchline as we look.
And of course on Sunday, Brighton were 4-0 up at half-time against Villa, and the game finished 4-0. You know, so, you know, it's a satisfactory outcome if, you know, if they play out this game at 3-0 and get through. So like I said, they don't want to be too expansive, they don't want to use up too much energy, they just want to play their way to the next goal.
Costina forced back towards halfway by Lars Larsen. Free kick conceded. It's Tonneson actually just a bit too committed to the challenge. Free kick taken short. Costina out to the right, and Diego Gomez. He's a little bit sloppy from Brighton just at the moment. They've given it away inside the centre circle. It was an ambitious turn by Troy Nyhammer, and that allows Vuskovic to knock it back to the keeper for Bruggen. Now Yasin Ayari dropping deep on the edge of the Seagulls penalty area. He plays it forward to Struijk over halfway. And then a foul conceded by Vadabu. Free kick for Brighton. Buscagli was the player caught there, right on halfway.
You know, I mentioned Buscagli in dispatches about last week. In fact, it wasn't Buscagli that was playing on that side with Osman, it was Karaoglu. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the both of them in a minute, you know, and put those 2 on to see what they can do, because I thought they did work well together over the game last week.
Costina forward to Gomez. Gomez with the neat little back heel out to the right. Costinha with a cross, and then he went for the Rabona flick. Gomez at the near post. It took a nick off a Tromsø player. It's behind for a corner. Good link-up play between Gomez and Costinha, the Portuguese half-time replacement.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth a shot. I think he was just too far beyond the front post to sort of really have any chance of scoring from there. You know, those ones are usually a little bit closer into the 6-yard box when, you know, it doesn't take very much to deflect it into that far corner. But, you know, he's got his team a corner out of it.
Corner to be taken from the far side. Brighton 3-0 up here. Short one to Pascal Gross inside the penalty area. Now De Kuyper with a cross towards the 6-yard box and clear. I was reading, I think it was Mark Crosley in one of the papers this morning talking about the great Brian Clough, and I can't remember the player it was, but he arrived at Nottingham Forest. He tried one of those flicks like we've just seen there from Gomez, and he said in his own unique way, we don't do flicks like that here, son.
You know, I've scored goals like that myself. I remember getting a hat-trick against St Mirren, one of them was like that, you know, so they do every now and again come off, but you know, they are rare.
Yasin Ayari out to the Brighton right-hand side. Hour gone on Talk Sport 2. Still the Seagulls searching for this fourth goal to absolutely cement their passage, and they might get it on the edge of the penalty area as it comes for Kostulas. 6 yards out, tight angle, hammers his shot high over the crossbar, and I wonder if he was just a little too selfish there, the centre forward.
Yeah, I think so, but you know, he's got a point to prove tonight. He really has, and you know, mostly he's done well so far. You know, he's had a number of shots, and you expect that. You know, they want the centre forward to get shots, and there, you know, we see sometimes shots going over the bar. I think that's went over the bar because he's realised that the only way he's going to score is getting over the top of the lunging player. You know, so it wasn't that it was such a bad finish; it was just the wrong finish.
Here they come again though, Brighton on the right-hand side. Costinha dispossessed as he had players waiting in the centre for the cross. We've gone past the hour mark, still 3-0 to the Seagulls here on TalkSport 2. The draw for the Conference League, remember, and indeed the Europa League live on TalkSport tomorrow around about midday. We already know who the English clubs will be facing in the Champions League, and there are some mouth-watering ties in prospect. We'll be able to hear the best of them on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. 9 English clubs, assuming Brighton get through tonight, will be represented in those 3 competitions. Hearts are there as well, but no place for Rangers, beaten on penalties in the Czech Republic tonight. Some soul-searching early in his tenure for Derek McInnes to do. And we've already gone out of the Europa League in the qualifiers.
Well, the crazy world that Scottish football is, and particularly the Old Firm, you know, Celtic and Rangers, there'll be all sorts of, you know, demonstrations and all sorts of theatrics, you know, around Derek now. But, you know, it's really, really a shame for them that they've went out and disappointing. But, you know, they have to really let him get started and see what happens over the season.
Hearts, who missed out to Celtic on the title the final day of the Scottish Premiership season. They will be in the draw with Brighton for the Conference League tomorrow. In this second half, we've played 17 minutes, Mark McGee. It's been forgettable, really.
Well, you know, it wasn't quite as bad as this on Sunday when they were 4-0 up against Villa. They still had to be at it a little bit, you know, but there's a kind of, it's not lethargy, but there's a kind of relaxedness about it that wasn't there. You know, they are prepared just to pass it around at the back and, you know, take their time and playing out and not go after any sort of possession further up. They're quite happy, but I think the only thing that can change that is changes to the manpower that's out there. Put on some fresh legs, put on some people that got a point to prove, put on people that maybe think they've got a chance for the match against Chelsea, and see if they can't bring something fresh to it. Otherwise we'll be sitting here playing this out the exact same way until the end.
Bart Verbruggen, all in yellow, away to our right in front of those travelling Tromsø fans, has the ball at his feet, just rolls it nonchalantly to his right hand side. And Pascal Struijk, that's a good ball though by Yasin Ayari, picking out Gomez. Gomez into the penalty area, just showed a little bit too much of that to Vadabu. Only cleared as far as Costinha. Costinha Back to Gomez, right corner of the area. Coutinho, I think, was being held there as he looked to get onto the return pass. He's done well to win a corner.
I thought the referee might have brought it back there and given him free kicks. It definitely did look as if he tugged his arm and slowed him from getting to the ball. As it was, he obviously did get to the ball, and it came off the Tromsø defender for a corner.
3-0 Brighton lead, 64 on the clock here at the Amex on TalkSport 2. Corner from the Brighton right. Looks like it's going to be a left-footed in-swinger here from Maxim de Kuiper. There are a cluster of blue shirts queuing up in a train at the far post. The half-time sub Strauch amongst them. Vuskovic decent in the air there as well. That's headed away by Camos at the near post. It wasn't a brilliant delivery by any stretch of the imagination. It's picked up now on halfway by Pascagli.
I mean, I don't know what plans Fabian Hustler has for Pascal Gross on the weekend. But, you know, certainly given the influence that he is in this team, I would be having him off. He would be the next player that I'd be taking off.
Well, they have got two subs primed and ready for action down in front of us, Brighton. Maybe Mark McGee's words are going to be heeded here. Ibrahim Osman is one of the players coming on, and so too Zadok Johanna, who got a few minutes at the end in Norway last week. So two of the youngsters about to make their bow. It will be a debut at the Amex for both players. Diego Gomez is the first Brighton player to make way, so that'll be a straight swap for Johannes. Zadok Johanna, a 19-year-old Nigerian. And Maxim de Kuiper, one of the three Brighton goal scorers, gets a standing ovation as his place is taken by another youngster, Ibrahim Osman. So that's 4 changes now that Fabian Herzl has made since half-time. And that's ball out to the right-hand side, which is kept in play by Coutinho. Matt O'Reilly with a crossfield pass, and here is Zahana looking to make an instant impact, the youngster. Can he get across into the penetration? Played it short to the edge of the box, deep delivery. Well, almost met by Osman on the volley. It was only the intervention of Dahlqvist, the right wing-back, that stopped him getting a shot away. One back on the halfway line by Osman, like a terrier there to regain possession for his team. Dahlqvist has really disappointed over the two legs. He scored 3 goals in the 7-1 win over Cluj in the last round. As Kostulas comes forward into the penalty area, cuts it back to the edge of the box. It's defended well. I expected a lot more from, well, both wing-backs really. Farnard and Dahlqvist just not been able to make any kind of impact going forward. I guess that's credit to Brighton for just how dominant they've been, particularly tonight here at the Amex.
And what it's meant is the areas that they're playing in. You know, the fullbacks have been playing on the edge of their own box for most of the game. You know, so it's very difficult to create any sort of counter from that sort of distance. You know, from the edge of your own box even to go over the halfway line. You know, so it's been impossible for them to really show what it was that gave them the reputation that they had before they came here. But they're playing a different level of team than they normally play week in, week out in Norway.
We're into the final quarter of the game. Brighton leading by 3-0. Same score on aggregate. Second half has been a bit more disjointed as the changes have been made, and maybe subconsciously some of those senior players who know they're going to be playing against Chelsea at the weekend just conserving energy. Here's Yasin Ayari, the Swedish international. Arrows a pass out to his right, and Zahana brought down neatly on the chest by the teenager. He's got Christina on the overlap. He's going to come infield. Johanna, wrong decision, passed it straight to Camos, and he will attempt to clear it away, and then it hits the arm of Yasin Ayari. It will be a free kick for Tromsø.
I think Ayari's been excellent tonight. You know, as I said, he was coming back over the halfway line, winning it, giving it to Pascal Gross, giving it to Riley, you know, setting things off, but, you know, breaking things down as well.
Ball punted forward by Jakob Hårgaard, the goalkeeper for Tromsø. One back on the edge of the penalty area by Pascal Strauch, and he plays it back to Bart Verbruggen. Inside that 18-yard box away to our right.
It's good play by the defender there, because you know what he didn't do was he didn't just pass it back to the goalie first time. He had that little check out, came forward, created a bit of space between himself and the back four and the goalie to give the goalie some time, and then he passed it back to him. Good play.
Here's Johanna, seen plenty of the ball since coming on already. Christina into the penalty area, tries to turn away from Tonneson, who stands tall and wins it back in the left back position for Tromsø. No real out ball though, chested down by Strauch inside the centre circle, got there ahead of Troy Nyhammer. And now the ball forward, looking for Johanna, who really has caught the eye over the last few minutes, but again Tonneson defends it well. And Tromsø now will try and clear their lines. 3-0 down with a little over 20 minutes remaining at the Amex.
That was actually a nice little ball down the channel there for Johanna, but I don't think Johanna expected it. You know, he looks to me as if he's got the pace that he should be able to get to that, but I think he was a fraction late in reacting to it. But it was a super ball just down the side and in behind the Tromsø back four. Or back three, is it? Maybe.
It's pretty much a back five, isn't it, whenever Brighton are in possession. Those wing backs, as you've said, Mark McGee not really getting the opportunity to push on. Here's Osman, seen less of the ball than Johanna on the other flank since the two youngsters were brought on together by Fabian Hertzler a few minutes ago. Switches the play, picked up by Kostinja, and back to Vuskovic now, on halfway for Brighton. Only got one more allotted substitution, the Seagulls, as Fabian Hertzler, all in green in that tracksuit, is out issuing his instructions down below us. Osman back to Strauch. Now Osman again, level with the 18-yard line on this near side, the left. He wriggles away from one challenge and then plays it back for Yasin Ayari to shoot, goes for the curler, took a deflection. That took any sting out of the shot, and it's an easy collect by Horgard on the edge of his own 6-yard box.
Yeah, and Buscaglia did do what we complained about in terms of Osman's position. He went ahead of it, he filled the space and forced Osman to come inside, and he was at his most effective last week when he went outside and he forced him to the byline and he tried to get in behind him that way, and if he didn't, he won them corners. When he's forced to go inside like that, he's going inside to an awful lot of bodies.
20 minutes to go. What will Fabian Hertzler be looking for in the final quarter of the match?
The same as we said at half time, you know, they'll be looking to conserve energy, not to become too expansive, to keep a clean sheet, to be diligent, to win their tackles, to win their headers, to play when they can, and to you know, take their time and getting over the halfway line and then trying to turn it into a positive outcome.
We have got a free kick to defend here. It's played short to Dahlqvist, who just chips it over the top of that Brighton defence, brought down the edge of the area in the centre-back. Leon Heine gets right underneath the volley and hammers it high into the Brighton fans behind the goal, much to their delight.
I think everyone on the Brighton side are happy to see that one go over the bar. You know, they can have them all day. But that's where we're at with Tromsø. You know, they're seeing this out as best they can. They want this game to finish as much as Brighton do.
Just looking at the record books, 3-0 would be Brighton's biggest ever European victory. Of course, it's only their second ever European campaign. Still one for the record books as the referee gets in the way of a pass and has to play a bounce ball back to Yasin Ayari midway inside the Tromsø territory. Ayari, who scored a couple of excellent goals for Sweden at the World Cup in the summer, was amongst the goals in pre-season for Brighton as well. Here is Osman trying to take on Dahlqvist, trying to get to the byline. Left footy cross towards the near post. Nobody in blue was really attacking it, and it's put clear. And that was more like what we saw from Osman in Norway.
Yep. There were four Brighton players in the box here, and all of them were beyond the penalty spot. You know, someone has to commit. When they see him getting to the byline, someone has to get across that front post and create some sort of space.
Chelsea 2-0 up now over Luton, over on Talk Sport. Esteval with a second. They'll play Leeds at Stamford Bridge in the third round of the Carabao Cup, and it's finished Fulham 2, Wimbledon 0. Well, sorry, it is Fulham 2, Wimbledon 0, not finished yet, but Fulham will be away at West Ham in the next round. Just got a bit flat, hasn't it? The atmosphere around the stands as well here at the Amex.
Yeah, what they're all looking forward to now is a draw. Not so much the final whistle here as much as they want that to come. We want it to come as soon as possible because the game is dragging out. Fabian Hutzler.
We want to get back to the Tunnel Club, don't we?
We do. We've got not hors d'oeuvres.
Cheese and biscuits, maybe.
What's it called? Those little sweets that you have after dinner with a nice cup of coffee.
Aperitif, is it?
We've still got to go and get one of them.
Here is Johanna. Brighton had a bit of a dessert here at the end of the game. Pascal Gross, right-footed shot, beaten away by the goalkeeper, comes down inside the penalty area, and it is rifled into the roof of the net by Buscagli. Not sure it'll count though. The flag is up on the far side for offside.
So emphatic finish, and again in among it, causing the sort of disruption was Pascal Gross.
Well, it was the time he was given, Pascal Groves, to shift the ball from his left foot to his right.
It's his shot, yeah.
But I think actually when the initial shot came in, Buscagli probably was stood in an offside position. On that basis, the assistant got it right over on the far side. So it's still 3-0. Taking their time over the free kick here. Tromsø suggested there was a VAR check, but it looked pretty conclusive, didn't it? Buscagli just a bit lazy in getting back in the position, getting back on side.
Yeah, and that's why I thought that it might be time to, maybe swap him for Kadioglu and let's see that combination down this side.
They do still have one more change, Brighton, 4 subs made already, 75 on the clock, 3-0 up here on TalkSport 2.
Saying all of that, it would be Pascal Gross I would have off here.
Well, he's pretty much an out-on starter, isn't he, against Chelsea at the weekend. Here's Osman into the penalty area, combining with Buscagli, and his shot may have hit the outside of the post. I wasn't sure if the goalkeeper got fingertips on it, but it was a very tight angle from which he went for goal.
It was I like the way he picks it up, he goes at him, he plays the 1-2, he gets behind him. Yeah, and it's maybe, if it's 0-0, he probably squares it. Just a point about Pascal Gross, it's not impossible that if he leaves him on, he's thinking he's not going to play him at the weekend.
I think away from home against Chelsea, you probably need his experience, but
you'd think
we shall see.
But Fabian has ways of thinking that, he talks a lot about other players compensating and, 2 players making up for one, and it might be that he has something in mind at Chelsea that he feels that, maybe he doesn't think that sort of on the counter as it's going to probably be for Brighton, that Pascal's got that in 3 games in a week.
You're listening to Brighton against Tromsø in the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk. Osman to Buscagli. Brighton still leading by 3-0. We've got only about 13 minutes of normal time to play on the night. 3-0 up on aggregate as well. 2-0 to Chelsea against Luton over on TalkSport in the second round of the Carabao Cup. As the ball is dinked into the Tromsø penalty area by Vuskovic, but easy take again for the goalkeeper Hurgard, who will be at least pleased if he can keep a second half clean sheet. Certainly didn't cover himself in glory in the first when Brighton scored 3 goals in the space of 18 minutes to really take this tie beyond the Norwegian minnows. Here is Olivier Buscagli over the halfway line for the Seagulls. Good switch of play to Johanna, who's got space on that right hand side, brings it down just on the edge of the area. Had Pascal Gross ahead of him. Neat turn again by Gross. Can he get a cross in? He does, but it's straight into the arms of Hurgard.
Pascal Gross is, it's like a racehorse. He just keeps running and running and running until he runs himself out of energy. So I know I'm repeating myself, but I do think they have to give him a bit of protection, unless, as I said, also that possibly Fabian Hutzler's decided he's not going to play him at the weekend.
3-0 to Brighton. They will be in that Conference League draw live on TalkSport tomorrow as the ball is chipped forward and he's onside here. Nyhammer gets the shot away, left-footed, saved by Verbruggen. Well, the flag took a long time to go up. I think you're right, to the naked eye he looked like he was offside. goalkeeper still had to make the save.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't know for sure, but it's that rule again. They let it go, and actually, I think the play was probably 3 yards offside. So I don't see why at that sort of aspect he can't give the flag. He can't flag and give it offside.
Only 11 minutes of normal time to play. And that Brighton clean sheet for a moment looked under threat, but the offside flag went up and Verbruggen made the save from Nyhammer, and probably the first save he's had to make.
Yeah, and a little warning though, that they don't want to concede something that ends up, the scramble out this last period of the game, this last 10 minutes. They've got to keep it as it is and play their way out of it.
They kept 10 Premier League clean sheets last season, Bart Verbruggen, and this will be his third in all competitions inside the opening week of the new campaign. Pascal Gross has got acres of space to run into inside the Tromsø half. He's made his way to around about 25 yards out, switches it to the left-hand side. It wasn't a great ball in there. Kept alive by Buscagli, but again the cross is too close to the goalkeeper. Claimed at the second time of asking by Horgard. As Brighton get ready to make their fifth and final substitution.
Yeah, that's Kuya that's coming on, who's a player I really took my eye. He's a young central midfield player, loads of energy, goes and wins it, circulates the ball, gets after people. I'm really impressed with him. I want to see his development. I think he's got a big future here.
And it is Matt O'Reilly, so it looks like Pascal Gross is going to play the full 90 minutes.
Well, Fabian Hützler knows his players better than we do, better than I do. So if he thinks he can play the 90 minutes and it'll be the third game he'll play in a week when he plays at the weekend, that he can cope with that, then he knows better than us. The sports science knows better than us. So maybe he feels that, or say it again, maybe he's not going to play at the weekend.
Tromsø making a change as well. Leon Hein, who came on for the injured Skiervik early in the game, has just been replaced by Kasper Oidan, so another change at the heart of the visitors' defence. One can only assume that maybe Hein has picked up some kind of injury issue. Not good news for Tromsø as they continue their Norwegian League campaign this weekend, third in the table, ahead of the game tonight. We've still got 10 minutes plus stoppage time to play, but I think actually if the full-time whistle went, then perhaps both teams would probably take that right now.
I think they probably would. It's not a shame, but it is what it is. We expected it to fritter out a little bit, but it's it's been pretty basic. This second half. Brighton have had a couple of chances, but they've done it sensibly. They've not, as we said, overstretched themselves. They've passed the ball when they could. They've defended when they had to. They've had a few shots, having new opportunities, and they could easily have another goal.
Here's Osman, down by the left corner flag. 3-0 they lead Brighton. Osman playing the ball back to Buscagli. Buscagli infield to Yaukue, having just come on, the pint-sized midfielder wearing number 35 on the back of his blue Brighton jersey. Now Osman, bit of space for Kostulas, one touch too many, but still alive, and Buscagli fizzes the pass back into Kostulas, who's been out-muscled by Vadabu. I think that's the source of frustration sometimes amongst the Brighton coaching staff. He tried that intricate flick there, Kostulas, but if he just got the ball under control, he would have got a shot away.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe what he does. He over-eggs it, that little kind of side thing. I don't think I've ever seen, certainly in my career, I've never done that once and it didn't me any good. I don't think I was capable of that little bit. I think I'd have dislocated my knee if I'd tried that little shuffle. But, he needs to simplify. He needs to keep it to a point where, if he has to lay it off, he lays it off. He's got to learn that.
Yeah, I think that's why Fabian Hützler is still reluctant to give him too many minutes in the Premier League. But if Ruter's not fit for the weekend game at Chelsea, and he left, I think, the game of the weekend with his boot and a protective plaster, Would you put your faith in Castulas to lead the line based on what you've seen tonight?
Well, I think one of the things is he scored a goal, and he scored a good goal, and he's had lots of shots in the early part of the game, so his confidence will be high. He'll have a bit of self-belief back, so he'll be hoping that he's playing, and if he is playing, then he's not to do the business. He's got to do the job for the team. More than anything, and it's not been something that's been highlighted tonight, it's not been as necessary, but away from home, someone up front has to hold the ball. You have to keep the ball up front and allow your team to get out. If he can't keep the ball against Chelsea, then they'll end up just wave after wave of Chelsea coming at Brighton. So if he does play, he's got to be prepared to play with his back to it sometimes and keep the ball.
He does that well there. Castulas plays it out to Osman on the left hand side, switched out now to the far right touchline, and young Johanna Costinha's made a run ahead of him. That's not a bad ball from Johanna, but read all the way by Tonnesson. Still struggling to clear their lines here, and then a foul by Johanna, a bit over eager down by the corner flag. Free kick for Tromsø. It stays 3-0.
I'm not even sure how long really. I can't see the clock. My eyes are not now. It's
about 5.5 minutes left.
5.5 plus whatever the referee decides to add on.
Probably won't be a lot, will it, under the circumstances?
Still time for another goal. I think that 4-0 in Sunday and 4-0 tonight would have a nice symmetry about it. I think that Fabian Hustler would quite enjoy that, but they're not going to stretch themselves to go and get another goal.
You're listening to Brighton against Tromsø in the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, whatever it is, they're here for it. Looks like Enzo Fernandez edging ever closer to a move from Chelsea to Manchester City for a package worth around £120 million. We're expecting at TalkSport that deal to go through. All the big deals between now and 11 o'clock on Tuesday, when the window slams shut, will be reported on TalkSport.com and on the YouTube channel. Here's Pascal Gross with a cross into the penalty area. Cleared to Buscagli. His shot's deflected. Finds the far corner. It's a fourth Brighton goal. And yet another different goal scorer, Olivier Buscagli, took his chances from the edge of the area. The deflection certainly helped send the ball spinning beyond Højgaard into the far corner, but with 5 minutes to play, it's now Brighton 4, Tromsø 0. The Vikings of Norway have been slain.
Well, he had a sighter a few minutes ago which was offside, but that was a terrific finish. Great technique, watch his balance, he's kept it down, he's drilled it into that far corner. He's given the goalkeeper no chance whatsoever, and I think that little deflection goes in off the post, but I think it's going in anyway. It takes it away from the keeper, but I think it's going in anyway.
4 goals, 4 goal scorers to add to the 3 they had at the weekend. And 2 if you include the own goal, but who needs a number 9?
That's the argument, isn't it? False nines, it's amazing that they get 4 goals and they don't have a sort of a real recognised play with your back to centre forward, and at the weekend against Chelsea it'll be the same. There probably won't have anybody playing really up against them, and even if the centre forward Costulas, if he plays, he'll play the way he's played tonight. He'll come off, he'll drop in, he'll go wide, he'll swap around. Other players, Pascal Gross pushes on up, O'Reilly, if he plays, pushes on up. They mix it up and they get the goals.
And I think Fabian Herzl will be pleased they've got that 4th goal. As you said, they didn't manage to score in the second half against Aston Villa, and as a coach, probably that's a little bit frustrating, even though you have taken a 4-0 victory at the start of the game. Second half has been a little bit one-paced, a bit one-dimensional, but that 4th goal just puts the gloss on it as far as Brighton are concerned. It will be their biggest ever European victory. It was at 3-0 anyway, but it just takes any doubt beyond.
Yeah, it sets a higher bar for the next time as well. So the next time they want to have the highest score in Europe, it's got to be 5, which is brilliant. They're pushing the limits all the time. But I think, his thinking would have been, right, like a little bit of patience. We talked about, conserving energy, but just keep playing and hope that, we can work a goal, and that's what he's done. He's been proven right about the second half. They're not charged on trying to get 3, trying to get 4 or 5 or 6. They've just been patient. Eventually they've got the one that counted, and now they've got 4.
Here is Buscagli coming forward over the halfway line again. Chested down on the edge of the penalty area by Kostoulas. At full time over on TalkSport, Chelsea have beaten Luton by 2-0. Welbeck and Esteval with the goals. They will be at home to Leeds, I've already mentioned, in the third round of the Carabao Cup. Here it's Brighton 4, Tromsø 0, less than 2 minutes to play. And the Amex in vibrant mood. They are going on a European tour, these Brighton fans, and they're going to love every single second of it.
I've said it before the game that my favourite part of any football I played were the European games, and for Fabian Hustle and his staff, for the players, for the club, for the fans, it is fantastic. So they've got a great end of year to look forward to, and who knows, they might still be there come the spring.
One or two Brighton fans just beginning to make for the exit, but most of the 20,000 plus crowd have stayed in her seat. Crossed into the penalty area towards the head of Kostoulas, and as he tried to nod it just towards the corner of the 6-yard box where Johanna was lurking, it was well claimed by Horgaard, who's had a better second half, the Tromsø keeper, than he did first.
Yeah, I think that he did start off very nervous. We said that he kicked the ball out and he touched almost the first time the ball was at his feet, and that doesn't send the right signal to his team. And for the first half he did look nervous, and he got involved in a couple of bits of play that resulted in goals for Brighton.
We will shortly find out how much added time there will be. As I say, I don't think the referee is going to want Tromsø to suffer for too much longer. They have got a free kick and maybe a chance to get their first goal of this tie. 4-0 down on the night, 4-0 on aggregate after that hard-fought 0-0 a week ago. Just 2 added minutes as predicted. You don't often see as little as 2 minutes these days, do you?
Even the referee's got a plane to catch.
Maybe he's going to join us in the Tunnel Club. You never know. That goal for Buscagli, by the way, only the second of his Brighton career. The ball is crossed in by Tromsø, met on the volley by Lars Larsen at the near post. He can only help his effort over the crossbar, and that might be the last meaningful goalmouth action of the night.
Yeah, a little bit of discussion there between the goalie and the defender about why he got in there, so that's a good thing as well. It's showing you the standards. They're not happy. It's 4-0 and the boy gets half a chance, and there's a post-mortem. I like that.
Hibernian won, Ghent won, so 1-1 on aggregate. Another Conference League game involving a British side. Rangers crashing out earlier tonight. No such problems here for Brighton from the minute that Kostoulas put them in front. Midway through the first half, they haven't looked back really. As convincing and comprehensive a victory as probably most of us pitching up here at the Amex would have expected. We are deep into the 2 added minutes, and Johanna has been penalised for a foul as he looked to come forward down the right-hand side, so a Tromsø free kick, but still inside their own half.
Going back to Kostoulas and his chances on the weekend, I mean, he does look as if he's a player that, if he gets a chance, he's likely to take it. I don't know how many chances he's going to work himself, or how many chances he's going to get, in a game like a game away from home against Chelsea, but, in a game that has limited chances, if you've got somebody that can convert, from a minimum, then that's a positive thing, and he does look as if he's a good finisher.
The full-time whistle sounds. Brighton and Hove Albion have booked their place in the Conference League proper. They did it in pretty emphatic fashion, scoring 3 times in the space of 16 first half minutes. Babis Kostoulas, who Mark was just talking about there, he fired in from the edge of the penalty area to put the Seagulls in front, give them lift off in this tie. Maxim de Kuiper continuing his excellent start to the season after another defensive lapse in the Tromsø backline. 11 minutes later made it 2-0 before Mats Vifa started a move on the edge of the centre circle, finished it emphatically with a right-footed effort into the far corner. That made it 3-0, and there was still time, 4 minutes from the end, for Olivier Buscagli to claim only his second Brighton goal to give the Seagulls Mark McGee a very comfortable 4-0 aggregate victory.
Well, if ever, a manager had a plan that worked out, I think that was it. Do what they done in the first half. They started the game, the 20 minutes, they had to be patient. We talked about that could happen, that they might not score early. They didn't. Then they got the goal, and then they settled down, and then it made it very, very difficult for Tromsø. Second half, it was always going to be a little bit inert. It was, but eventually they got that fourth goal, which makes it a bit like icing on the cake, as it were. But I think that it worked exactly to plan.
Certainly did. The Brighton players take the ovation of the home supporters. They will be in the draw for the Conference League, live on TalkSport tomorrow as it finishes Brighton 4, Tromsø 0. Time now to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
The Here For It hero on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
Over to you, Mark McGee.
Well, as a back four, they were very comfortable. The keeper never really was tested, so you have to look further up the pitch for a man in the match. And I thought during the spell that they won the game, the most effective player was Ayari. I thought he was excellent. He got back in there, he won the ball, he was playing it in, he was getting the players in front of him going, he was protecting the back four. I thought he was terrific during that period, in particular when they won the game.
So that was our man of the match, Here For It hero with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
The Here For It hero on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here For It. Book now at enterprise.co.uk.
And don't forget, we've got the Sports Bar from 10 o'clock over on TalkSport. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy taking your calls. The number to dial is 0371722 3344. Brighton 4-0 winners here against Tromsø in the second leg of their Conference League playoff, going through 4-0 on aggregate. We just had Fatboy Slim on the PA system. The Brighton fans saying, no doubt to Fabian Hertzler, we want to praise you right here, right now. Brighton will be in the Conference League draw tomorrow. Good night.
Talksport.